Can't you just use this recent photo? All right. Here you go. Woohoo!
Massive mystery holes appear in Siberian tundra and could be linked to climate change. And then they go down and they discuss when they first originally discovered them in 2013. They were originally discovered, they're not exactly sure how the huge holes, which is at least the 9th spotted in the region since 2013. Well, there's many more than that. However, I spoke to the Russians directly.
There's pushing the lines of credibility, and then there's shooting credibility in the head. Mud Fossil University called the Russians about their sinkholes. Give me a fucking break. I mean, this is how we're starting out this video? Sweet lord, I cannot wait to see where we go.
I'm just so happy.
I know what's going on here, and I know what the cause of this is, and I know what these things are doing, and they can get like this. You see that? That's been burning, I think, for 30 or 40 years, and that's probably when they discovered it. It was burning probably forever.
The gate to hell, or doorway to hell, as some people refer to it as, is a collapsed crater on a natural gas and oil reservoir in Turkmenistan. It was set ablaze in the 80s by geologists in order to hopefully put out the methane, but there's a lot of methane, it's continued to burn. Now, I'm correcting him here because this is important. For him to claim,
I know what's going on here,
and be so wrong about literally the first paragraph on the Wikipedia page shows what he knows, that being jack shit.
Jack left town.
You have to understand chemistry. These are hydrocarbons, CHs, and where do CHs come from? I can tell you where they come from, and you'll find out where they come from.
Science will tell you that methane is derived either biogenically via usually fermentation processes or maybe some CO2 reduction through bacteria, or abiogenically, usually in the form of hydrothermal vents, something along those lines. I wonder what Mud Fossil University is going to choose.
One, three. Pick number 3, my lord. Oh, okay. Number 3.
All right. What you see in there is this lung, and this is one of the holes in the lung, and these are those little pockets. Now let me back it out of here.
If you happen to be new to Mud Fossil University, 1, congratulations, leave while you can. 2, he tends to think any rock that he finds that has a vague shape or vague resemblance to the cartoon pictures of organs that he's seen on the internet is actually a fossilized remain of said organ. It is kooky, to say the least.
Now, if I go down inside, look, see down in here? All of those are the balls. You see the balls over there on the side there?
And there we have it. It wouldn't be a mud fossil video without talking about balls.
Try to focus in on the bottom right of that. You see them? Those are the kind of things you're seeing in the Mars crab, and that's from this lung. And anyway, there's a lot to learn about this, but it's all biological.
There you go. That's the entire thesis. That's how you know he's correct, because there's balls in this rock. To my best guess, the only ball thing I could find related to the lungs are alveoli, which are tiny air sacs in your lungs that take up the oxygen you breathe in and keep your body going. They're located at the end of bronchial tubes, and they are absolutely tiny, about 480 million some in your lungs. But we all know biology isn't cool, geology's cool. So what are we looking at here? Well, given the zero information I'm given in this rock, I'm going to have to go by its color, which is a terrible indicator of rock, by the way. I'm going to say maybe he has a chunk of granite, in which case you have maybe some quartz or some calcite crystals down at the bottom there. They can grow in all different shapes. That's my best guess. Why it's not a lung and why it's not balls in lungs is mostly due to the fact that we do have things that have had lungs in them, they have died and fossilized. And we don't find fossilized tissue like lungs, solid lungs, inside fossilized remains. And inside those lack of lungs that don't exist, we also don't find fossilized balls. There's so much weirdness about having to say that sentence.
And by this time I had all the CAT scans done, Jesse Garant and Associates, and I had the DNA test done on my giants, and they came back positive.
Perhaps I'm bad at the internet, but I've yet to find this actual report to verify what the hell he's talking about. And, let's be honest here, I am not taking his fucking word on this.
I had talked to the Russians about their problem with this, showing these were blood vessels, and the tubes that they were finding, these big holes, were from where blood vessels were.
I don't know what I expected.
And as they drained in Yamani, took out the fossil fuels and methanes and all that, the fluids drop in here because they're normally under pressure.
I'm not the best at logical fallacies, but I kind of feel like there's one that describes saying something that's false, and then saying something that's true, and trying to connect the two when there's no reason to connect them. Maybe it's begging the question, I can't quite remember. Yes, sinkholes do arise when, for example, you pump out natural resources like gas or oil. That causes the soil on top of that reservoir to collapse. No, that doesn't mean the reservoirs are blood vessels. Two very different statements.
Now, once you start to remove so much that you get a void in there, that pressure can grow, and then it pops the top off them, because
they're called sinkholes because the top sinks in. If you remove, you don't increase pressure. What the fuck do you think pressure is exactly?
Normally the pressure coming down is equal to the pressure coming up, so you're pretty stable, and they're pretty much frozen in the tundra.
What you talking about, Willis?
Now, as it gets more and more energetic, because all energy does is heat, is energy, it expands things. You put something, a can of something that's sealed up, and the heat explodes. What happens is it expands. Now, so you had normally, it was like the can sealed with the frozen top and so forth. Now, what happened now?
I gave that a few good listen throughs. Honestly, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. We have a transition from sinkholes in Siberia to blood vessels to throwing cans in fires because energy makes things pop up, but sinkholes don't pop, they sink, hence the word sinkhole. What the fuck's going on? Who knows? Welcome to Mud Fossil University, ladies and gentlemen.
Was even though the top is not completely unfrozen, more energy comes in here, and then you're sucking out the fluids and pumping them off to, sell them or whatever they do with them. And the fluid levels are dropping. And then now your fabric on the top becomes weak.
I keep having to re-record this particular audio clip because he talks about so much stupid shit in such a little space of time, I don't know what to tackle. He's wiggling his fingers at the screen as if that's supposed to educate you somehow as to what's going on. He's talking about sinkholes blowing their tops off. He's confused that you sell oil. I mean, I like to do rebuttals, I like to do debunkings, I like to, here's the actual facts that contradict what this person is saying. But, sweet Jesus, man, there's an overload of bullshit.
Bullshit.
And the tube is there. The tube is the same tubes as in these lungs.
That is literally the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
And I'm going to show this lung in the microscope in a second. You're going to see the exact same identical structure that is in these biological sinkholes.
Fresh reminder for everyone watching. These are the images he showed for sinkholes. So when he puts his microscope up to that nice little lung rock he has, that is what we're looking for. By his own words.
I had already determined that all my findings were about the Earth being alive and the giants, and even in space. Comet 67P, I had already analyzed all the stuff from that. That is also a biological entity, and it has the same identical blood vessels.
I don't know why he hates his fucking monitor so much. He's always poking it with something. It just gets you, you know? Anyways, Comet 67P, or insert big Russian name, I'm not going to try to say it. You would recognize this as the comet that the Rosetta mission went to in 2014. And it was also the first comet to have a human spacecraft land on it around 2016. Lots of cool images, lots of super high quality science. He says he examined it and showed it to be biological. Okay, bud, we'll take your word for that one. Why the fuck not? I don't see any blood vessels here. What is this, like a chunk of thigh flying around? Oh, God, he says so much, and he bypasses so much, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. I guess we're living in a big old thigh meat galaxy. God, so much stuff,